So welcome everyone to our guest speaker series, today with Raphael Benros, who comes from the creative industry, from gaming, but he's also quite switched on in terms of finance, in terms of understanding how to make money out of it. I invited him today in order to give you some insight into, I think, an extremely interesting industry, the gaming industry. He's been in the gaming industry for a few years. He's also a graduate of University of Edinburgh and St Andrews, even though you're not Scottish, okay? You're French American, so you have a very interesting background. You speak a few languages. We've known each other for a few years, and he's going to give a speech. I think interactive, you can ask questions, and so over to you, Raphael. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the intro. Thank you everybody for being here today. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I lost my voice for two reasons. Last week was the largest game developers conference in the world. It was in San Francisco. There was a lot of meetings, and then last night I was at a Champions League match, and so on the winning side. So I have a photo later. So I also a lot of singing, a lot of yelling. So bear with me. Okay, so this is my company, Snackbox Games, and my name is Raphael Benros. I'm going to start with a simple question, which is: does anybody play games? What do you play? Does anybody recognize firstly the games that are on the board? Any cool kids? Yeah? What is it?
The bottom one, Balatro.
Balatro, okay, this guy plays games. Anybody else play games?
Yeah.
What do you play?
Poker.
Poker? On the phone or?
Yeah. And in person as well. But.
Okay, you might have played against my dad. Anybody else?
Block Blast.
What is it? Block?
Block Blast, it's like Tetris, but
On the phone?
yeah.
Awesome. Anybody else on the phone? Growing up, maybe computer, yeah?
Happy color. It's just like you color by color. It's like you make.
Oh,
colors
yeah,
with
yeah,
color
that
by
little
color.
puzzle game thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So taking a lot of the tube, probably, yeah?
2048.
2048, oh
You
yeah,
know
the classic one,
yeah.
wow. That came out when I was younger, yeah. Okay, cool. Anybody else? No games, no games? Never touched a mouse to play games, or, yeah?
Fortnite.
Fortnite, good, classic, cool. I don't know how old you were, but that's telling, yeah?
Club Penguin. When I
Club
was
Penguin, oh my goodness, yeah. Another
Just
one.
Dance.
Just Dance, okay,
Yeah.
what do you play on Just Dance?
I used to play on my Wii U and now I play on a PS5.
On a PS5,
Yeah.
you got a PS5 to play Just Dance.
Yes.
That's amazing. Yeah?
Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike, PC. Nice, this guy's a hardcore fan over there. Okay, anybody else? No, we're good?
I have something.
Yeah, you play something.
Mario.
Mario, yeah, that's a classic.
With
yeah.
the kids.
I play Mario, yeah.
Yeah, but like 10, 15 years ago with the kids. You understand?
Sure. Anyway, they put out one every 2 years now, so. Okay, cool. So, everybody's a gamer pretty much, except for like 2 of you, but I'll get your names after class, it's okay. So, what was I going to start? Okay, do we have any questions for the games industry? Should we start with some questions? Anybody got any questions when you think of the games industry? Yeah?
Do you like in the gaming industry? Because I know this happens with like movies, for example.
Yeah.
Do you have the possibility to sell your idea to a developer?
You do, we'll talk about that, sure. Yeah, so we might not necessarily call them selling an idea to a developer, but we'll find the right name. But yeah, that's a good point, yeah, exactly. So like pitching, yeah.
Is the market growing as it is or as it has been for the last 5-10 years?
That's an awesome question. We'll also cover that. If somebody wants to take a note, so I don't forget the questions also, who knows how to take notes? Yeah, question?
Is the like rise of artificial intelligence very like compromising for this industry?
Yeah, I'm gonna make the question stronger. We'll talk about generative AI specifically, because AI has been in games for a long time. Any other questions? Yeah?
How's optimizing going? Because like we don't get more graphics power out of PCs anymore, so
Good
devs
question.
can really kick it more. So they are relying on DLSS, for example.
Nice.
How's that impacting?
Cool, so we have graphics optimization, we got Gen AI, we have market growth, we have pitching, and
How do you choose what ads you have on your app?
okay, how do you choose what ads you have? Okay, that's a good question, yeah, cool. Anything else? You're writing them down, yeah? Kind of?
I only wrote one.
You wrote them
I
down.
wrote them down.
You wrote them
Yeah.
down, awesome, good. Any other questions? Last chance, just kidding, you can keep asking. I have a question. My question is, how do you become a billionaire in the video games industry? Does that interest anybody as a question?
Yeah.
I thought of that, yeah. There we go. Got someone who works in finance. I asked that question to Claude, and we'll get the answer at the end. So we'll see. We'll see what it says. I honestly think he tailors his answer. It tailors its answers to what I give it already. So I think it's a bit biased, but we'll see. Okay, about me. So I do a lot of traveling for the games industry. Games industry is a notoriously cagey industry, hard to get into, like fashion or probably any job nowadays, but like movies also. So like your professor said, I am from France. I was born in Paris, but I grew up in the US, so I can speak French if you guys want to. We can do the second half in French. I lived in China, Japan, I worked in Italy for a while, United States, UK, yeah, Scotland, whatever. This is me last night at the fans away section for the Champions League. For all the Chelsea fans, I'm so sorry, but they played terribly. I also make music sometimes, that's fun. Video games is a multimedia industry, right? We have art, we have audio or music, you have writing, you have animation, there's psychology, we'll all cover all of those things. This was my cat growing up, he's no longer with us. I also do photography, I also do stand-up, I performed at the Edinburgh Fringe, and I don't know if you guys wouldn't recognize this person's quite small, but I started doing photography and video at university. This guy is Dave, you know there's a rock band, Dave something, like from the 90s especially, anyway, I forgot his name now. Okay, so we'll get back to that. There's 3 major conferences or 2 really big ones. One is called GDC, that's where I was last week. It's in San Francisco every year, and then there's one called DevCom or Gamescom. Gamescom happens in Germany, maybe you guys have heard of it, it's open to the public, but there's also a really big business thing. So the best thing to do in the games industry is to go to these conferences and meet all of the game developers. That's like 30% of my time. I don't know if you guys have any other questions. This person's a pretty big guy, he works at Tencent. This is a game that I work for and represent. This is some of the business partners. Anybody ever heard of World of Warcraft?
Yeah.
Yeah? That guy was the creative director, and he's an advisor for one of the things that I do. We'll come back up. Yeah. These 2 guys used to be. That dog's famous. They get invited to cosplay at like different things. Anyway, that's me traveling the world doing, and you have a little bit more information about me. Yeah. So I've been, like you said, I've been doing this for about 7 years. This is my journey. I started as a consultant for Ubisoft in China. At the time we were working on Assassin's Creed Ragnarok and something called Project Blue, which was Avatar, later the Avatar game that came out a couple of years ago or last year. I was also a consultant for Supercell. There we were, so Brawl Stars, Clash of Clans. Clash Royale, yeah, look at you guys. They make a lot of money because you guys know the names. Then I worked to set up this thing called Playing for the Planet. I did a master's in Edinburgh, that was in climate change law, and then my undergrad was international relations and economics. So here we set up the alliance between the largest game studios in the world to work on climate change topics. And I coordinated something called the Green Game Jam for a couple of years, where mobile game studios, including Supercell and Ubisoft, would create green campaigns, green activations inside their game to try and motivate players to have a bit more awareness on environmental issues within games. Then I worked for a small indie called Moonlit Games, made by people who were very successful at Wooga. It's not really our market, it's more for like your mom to play, but it's a very popular game called June's Journey. Then I worked on the service provider side, we'll call it, where I worked in middleware or art tech. So Didimo was a 3D art pipeline. Scenario is a generative AI tool to create art assets. And then I also consult for something called Dots Eco, which is a sort of tech marketing platform to help run environmental campaigns for video games. And these are some events. Like I said, the games industry is super cagey. You kind of have to know someone, or you have to like really knock on many doors. So Gamescom is the famous one in August in Cologne. Develop Brighton is a very accessible way to get into the games. It's in Brighton, July usually, and it's basically free as a student or not, so you can get access to the floor and meet people at the pub. And all of the UK games industry in Europe also comes there. Pocket Gamer is something that happens every year in London near the Barbican. Also very easy to get into. I advise for DevGam, which is an event that happens in Poland and Portugal. And that's a broader games industry thing. People travel from all around the world. XDS is another event that happens in Vancouver, and that's around external development. We'll talk about that. And then DICE, or the DICE Awards, is kind of like the Oscars for games. Like the Game Awards, but very industry focused. All of those experiences led to me founding my own game studio. My game studio, we work primarily on web games. So these are some early images or prototypes. But basically, we're building small games for a browser to test ideas, and then if the ideas work, we bring them to PC or mobile. So I work with different developers around the world, and we try and come up with fun ideas. Some are more experimental, this is some earlier stage, and some are even pixely. And the other games that we're working on right now that I don't have screenshot are something simple like Sudoku or word puzzles, something a little bit more interesting like the reverse tower defense / match 2. And then I just started working on a turn-based arena game, which we don't have to, it's a genre terminology. Any questions? Okay, cool. Any questions? No? Okay, cool. All right, so let's look at the industry landscape while I take a sip of water. So, this is the way I'm going to categorize things. There's a couple other things we should look at. Firstly, there's investors all the way at the top. They don't know what they're doing. They're greedy. Now they come from Saudi Arabia, so you have no idea what it's for. Despite being investors, they don't want to give you their money. That's the craziest thing. The only ones with money. Now, the foundation of the games industry is developers. Developers started back in the 80s. It was some nerdy kid from Guildford who was making games in his mother's basement. They don't really have basements in this country, but it's equivalent. Developers are the ones who make games. They pitch their idea, let's answer your question, to publishers. Publishers are like Warner Brothers or Netflix, right? They're the ones who are going to finance the game in return for a share of the profits. Publishers today are under a lot of attack because it's a more and more competitive market. Like there's 1,000 games that come out every month on PC, and I think it's like 10,000 apps on mobile. So what are publishers now? Publishers are basically marketers. I'm going to include streamers, social media managers, like all of that goes into publishing. Developers, we're really talking about artists, things like that. Does anybody know what external development means? Ever heard that term before? Yeah?
Should I explain?
Yeah, sure.
So you like hiring developers to like get faster there, even they're not in your team.
Mm-hmm. So outsourcing. This is outsourcing. So this is pretty common in the games industry. Do you guys know the game Pokemon? Yeah?
Pokemon Go?
Pokemon Go, for example. So when they make a new main game Pokemon for like the latest Nintendo console, it's gonna be made by the Pokemon company, yeah? Which owns Game Freaks. Game Freaks is the developer. The publishers are Pokemon Company and Nintendo, but they rely on a lot of art outsourcing to get the assets done, to get the things inside the game actually made. So actually, but they won't tell you that. But that's probably like 30 to 40% of the budget. And then lastly, they're gonna make something in an engine or using middleware technology. Anybody know any engines? Fortnite guy? No? Didn't really play Fortnite.
Unreal Engine, Rage Engine.
Unreal Engine, Rage, Unity. Have you guys heard of Unity? No?
What is that?
So to make a game, you have to have something that runs the game. Unlike other apps, video games are interactive and they have different, how do you say, in a word that makes sense. So they're gonna have like different modules that need to interact with each other between the art that needs to be managed, the audio that needs to be fed in at the same time, and the agent that needs to have choice across different systems. So an engine is kind of a systems manager, which other traditional apps will not need because there's less choice or interactivity, less feedback. So engines are super important, and I would say that they're quite linked to something that I didn't add, which is platforms. And can anybody name any platforms if I say the word platforms in the games industry? No? So a platform would be PlayStation 5, your iPhone, Xbox, Steam, those are platforms. The best thing to be in the games industry is a platform, because you basically take 30% of a cut of everybody. Nintendo, that's a platform also. Nintendo's also a developer, it's also a publisher. They take a cut out of the top of everything. They're also an investor of kinds.
What is middleware? What does it stand for?
Middleware will be tools that you'll use to create just like a specific part of the production.
So all of this is software, right? Engines and middleware software.
Software, yeah, software, yeah, exactly.
No hardware. Where does the hardware sit?
Hardware's another layer.
Platform is that?
It can be, yeah.
Like
So
the
platforms.
PSP or the
Yeah, so platforms will
the
give
consoles or something.
Yeah, platforms will give like a dev kit, which would be the hardware, and the consumer plays on their hardware. But that's almost outside of the games industry, or it's in like manufacturing, which is not game development per se.
Yeah.
You know, you're working on engineering, which is a big part of games industry as well. Any other questions? All right, so let's talk about the different roles. Anybody recognize anybody? There's a couple people in here that are actually famous. Some of those people are not real, or it's just staged. So the couple roles we'll talk about first, I couldn't really find a good photo, but this is a game design. If you want to make a game, you have to be a game designer. Game designers are the people who design levels. Back then it was literally just boxes and lines on a piece of paper. Today you use more sophisticated systems. A game designer can also include narrative designers, so if you're a writer, what else can it include? A lot of it is systems driven, so spreadsheets, a lot of spreadsheets. I believe this is the developer, I think. Yeah, developer, so you're going to work in engine, in code, and then you'll be testing the game a lot. Also here would be engineering side, so making sure that you know how things are optimized, maybe on a graphical side, but also on a server side. This is a producer. This is what I do a lot. It's just someone looking over somebody's shoulder being like, get that done. This is more of the graphics or art. You could do 2D, 3D art. It's a really big part of the optimization issue. It's also a lot of the work, right? Art style defines what people respond to. So it's very important, and it's a lot of work, but AI is disrupting that quite a bit in terms of pipeline. Anybody recognize this guy? No, he's too young now. Hideo Kojima, he is the guy who made Death Stranding most recently, famous for a lot of other crazy Japanese games. He might be the most famous creative director. That's another role in games. He's so famous that people were like, you're going to leave this studio and we're going to fund you to make whatever you want, and he has made whatever he wants. It's really weird. Nobody recognizes this person? She's the new head of gaming at Microsoft. She's in charge of all Xbox.
Yeah, I heard about her last week. I think she got a point or something like that.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And she released a statement being like, we're going to do the same thing that we've been doing that nobody likes for the last 5 years. So at the conference, people were criticizing her, being like, I don't think she's ever even played a game. So you could tell that the games industry is super sexist. Up there is audio and music, super important. People usually think of it at the last stage of game development. Actually, for one of the things I forgot is how to make a game production, but I'll come back another time. Here, the nice man's shaking somebody's hand is a business developer. There's the ones who are finding external development for the game studios. They're the ones signing deals for investment. Quite a big part. Nobody likes them. They love to party though, so that's the right people to know. And then here at the bottom is a very controversial streamer, so an example of a streamer. His name is Asmon Gold. He is from the far right in the United States, and he's personally attacked one of the games I've worked on and my team, to the point that they were doxing them, and we've had to take things off social media. And then we got a really close-up look at how sort of the far-right political machine works, but it's okay because I was on YouTube comments insulting the rest of his minions later, so I think we got the last word. Fun fact, the game that I was working on, you can even look it up, it's called Take Us North. They, on Reddit, they say that they canceled it. Thanks to the coverage that we got from him, we went back to our investors and they funded us for another 2 years. So he's actually helped us make the game. So let's talk about games market in general. I'm going to pull up 4 different numbers. So this is population of games. We have 3.5 billion gamers, most of them in mobile. As you can see, 55% of the market revenue is generated by mobile. So there's strong arguments in the games industry to be like, yeah, but those are completely different things. The way that you make games for mobile and what you focus on is very different than what you do for PC and console. But we're afraid to do that because if we do that, we lose 50% of the market. And if I want to show an investor that you're going to make money in the games industry, I want to show them the near $200 billion that we have and not just like $80 billion because it doesn't sound as good. Most of the players are in China, but most of the profit, I don't have this graph, is generated by Americans. A lot of disposable income, they're paid more, things are generally cheaper, and they have this sort of video game culture of just like playing on screens, looking at screens all the time. The biggest competitor to games industry right now today is, anybody?
Supercell.
Supercell is in the games industry, but okay, let me rephrase. What's the thing that would take people away from playing games the most?
Phones.
Social media.
Social media, phones, exactly. So today, a lot of people, when they consider who's our biggest competitor, it's TikTok, actually. It's viral videos, it's things like that. Here we have the top games in, let's say, the top 5 genres in the mobile game space. Pokemon Go, I think somebody mentioned. I actually don't know what this one is. Royal Match, okay, so it's a match 3 thing. Coin Master, I mean, I assume that's like playing poker, but something different. And PUBG, anybody know PUBG? Have you heard of it?
That's
PUBG.
like the first Fortnite.
Yes, exactly. It's the first battle royale from South Korea. But the problem is it was from South Korea. And so they didn't know how to export it. So the Americans looked at it and they were like, we can make this. And they did a really good job. And now that, in like 10 years, they've made I don't know how many billions of dollars. And Krafton, who make PUBG, are still trying to catch up from a branding point of view. But it's good that you guys know that. Okay. Big focus nowadays is on Roblox. Anybody ever played Roblox? Yeah? Okay, one person. You played everything.
Yes.
A bunch of
It's 'cause I have an
big
iPad.
nerd back there. So Roblox is a mystery to most game developers because we're older. So we're not on Roblox, but something like 50% of American households have a Roblox player. So like that's basically all the kids in America. And most people play on mobile phones, which means it's really hard to take your phone, a kid's phone away from them. Because there they get identity, they get social, they get everything, and plus games. The weird thing about Roblox, aside from having like something like, I think it's like 200 million daily active users, which is crazy, is that they can take up to 70% of the money that a developer gets from making a game. So it's also a huge disincentive for real game developers to work there, and yet it's also one of the largest and fastest growing markets. So that's a fun bit that I wanted to mention. Because when you hear those numbers, as a game developer, you're kind of scared. Yeah?
By any chance, do you know how much the game Dress to Impress made?
Is it on PC or?
It's on Roblox.
It's on Roblox. Yeah,
It's
so I would
like-
know. Yeah.
I think the most popular game at the moment.
There you go. So
Or probably a few months ago before.
that's why we talk to young people to figure out. This is market research for me too. Okay, let's talk about the opportunities briefly then. The two things that are really interesting right now in the games industry, like I said, is browser games. This is getting a bit of attention in the last 9 months, but now a bit more now. In the conference that I was at, all of the social media platforms are launching browser-based games. Why? Because browsers can now handle a lot more power, as good as mobile games, basically. So there's a lot of opportunity there to start porting or bringing your old game to browser. Yep.
But isn't there like already like really big browsers or sites on the internet or like on Safari where you have like a bunch of different games?
Yes. So this is one of them. This is called Pokey. Maybe you have a younger sibling who's on there. And then the other one's called Crazy Games.
Yes.
Crazy Games, yeah. So
with Fire Girl and Waterboy or whatever order they're in.
there you go. So Crazy Games is a good partner of mine. I like working with them. They're based out of Belgium. Pokey is Dutch. And they're both getting around 80 million to 200 million monthly active users. So a fraction of what Roblox is getting. But it's a platform that you can negotiate where you can get 70% of the profits, so that's much better than Roblox, even if it's a much smaller share. And they do all of what we call user acquisition for you. So user acquisition is the mobile term for finding your audience, which is the hardest challenge in video games. So they're actually pretty good, in my opinion. So that's an opportunity. And then the other opportunity is generative AI. Why is that an opportunity? Shouldn't it also be a challenge? If you've looked at any games news in the last couple of years, everybody's gotten fired. It's something like 30% of the American workforce in the games industry has gotten fired. And a lot of people are blaming generative AI for disrupting the workflow. Really, actually, the games industry is cyclical. And it's run, like I said, by investors. So investors, when a game comes out, they want to reap the profits. If they have to share the profits with the employees, it doesn't work. So they fire them. And then they get to keep the money. So that's not really, I think, the primary reason behind firings. What is happening is that they're not hiring because of generative AI. So if you're a first year out of university, it's a lot tougher now to get a job. They're asking medium people to do junior people's jobs, and they're firing the medium people. They're not hiring juniors, and the senior people have more responsibility and less of a team. The expectation, and here's where the opportunity comes in, is that generative AI does enable smaller teams to deliver more content. How many of you guys have played with any of the coding tools? Yeah? Yeah? Which one?
I use anti-gravity, for example.
Anti-gravity, cool.
I don't know if it's a coding tool, but I used to do a lot of Scratch, and I was actually pretty good.
Cool. So I use a lot of Claude Code. If you guys have worked with Claude Code or ChatGPT's version of integration, whatever it is now, they're pretty good. You can get a prototype out in like a couple hours. And art assets you can buy online in 3D for like a whole bundle of 100 things you might need for $100. Or you can have it generate most of it, especially if it's 2D. So generative AI is really interesting, and I think the consensus is if you're a developer who knows how to code, you can get generative AI to make your art for you. If you're an artist who knows how to make art but doesn't know how to code, you can get the generative AI to make the code for you. You're not necessarily going to get developers super mega excited about a coding tool, and you're not really going to get an artist super excited about the art tool. But those that can use it are more productive. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. It's the expectation from investors is basically you have to have Gen AI at every point in your pipeline. How are we doing on time? Cool. So the challenges: finding your audience, marketing, user acquisition. If you're in mobile, that's the biggest thing. How a lot of smaller teams that I speak to have this mentality of I will build it, they will come kind of thing. And so they're going to quit their nice cushy jobs at Palantir or AWS, and they're going to be like, I'm going to make a game. And then they're going to make a game for 3 years, and then they burn out and nobody's played it. They've released it on Steam and only like 100 people have played it. And the reason is because they never told anybody about it. So I try to get people to tell people about their game as soon as you start working on your game. If you're indie, if you are a large studio like 2K, Rockstar, Activision, you already have an existing audience, and the question is just what do you want to do with that, where do you want to put it, and which celebrity do you want to stick a face on. But it's a lot of money and it's a lot of work. In movies, I think it's like 50% of the budget, if not more, goes into advertising for film. It's about the same thing for games. User acquisition for mobile, every dollar spent gives you $1.10 back. That's the current funding. So you pay companies about $100 million if you want to get $110 million back, so that they go and find and play those ads and find the right system to bring people into their game. Super mega expensive, because if you don't have $100 million, how are you going to make $110 million? You're not otherwise. So the biggest issue also is funding. I love this photo. It's like the least representative of what funding is, but it makes me feel like the investors are babies, which is kind of the actual mindset. But they got it right. They know how to spell it, so that's good. A challenge, which I didn't put in opportunity, is VR. Has anyone ever put a VR headset on? Most of you. Most of you. Okay, cool. Which ones did you guys put on?
Vision
Remember?
Pro.
Vision Pro. Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
Intel Quest, Galaxy AR, XR, and Vision Pro.
Cool. Cool.
I don't know, but it was one made for Formula One.
Okay.
It was one of those like Formula One.
Cool. So like that's like a one-off type experience. You've tried the Apple one. You've tried all the cool ones, all the different ones. Meta's the biggest one. But the problem with VR is it has a very low adoption rate, which I'm sure you guys have looked at. It's something like less than probably 5 or 10% of the games industry. So if you want to build a VR game, you're already looking at much smaller audience, much smaller budget. I want to say the biggest challenge is nobody's used to putting like ski goggles in their day-to-day. We're used to computers because we do that at work. Phones have no barrier, like the phone lights up if you even look at it or talk to it. But nobody is like, you know what I'm gonna do? Put something on my head and like be closed off from the rest of the world for like 3 hours. So there's a big challenge there. People were very optimistic about it with like the money pouring in like maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago with Meta and everything. Now it's a bit moderate. I will say you do get budgets in the VR games that are about like $10 million for a game, which now enters that what we call AA range. You might have heard AAA, AA, indie. Those are, so it's not nothing, but it's not, you know, nobody's really super excited by it. Greed, I think, is a challenge in the games industry. So that's a nice photo of that. It's separate to funding, because you get greed at the executive level as well. And then walled gardens. This is my photo of a walled garden. Does anyone know the terminology walled garden? Something we used to criticize a lot 10 years ago for Apple. Apple being a walled garden, as in you have to use their apps if you want to do something on Apple. It's a bit better now, but one of the biggest challenges is that, and it's starting to break down slowly, but if you wanted to release a game on mobile and make money, you have to put it on the App Store. They get to, it's a monopoly, they get to define the terms that you're going to pay, so they're going to say, we're going to take a 30% cut, you're going to take a 30% cut. We could call that a kind of walled garden. That the Supreme Court has finally shot that down, but it's going to take a while. So monetization actually has gone down. That's one of the things that's come out of that, because there are new stores popping up, but nobody's spending as much money anymore. Apple are not sure if they need to have more content, better content, or more aggressive monetization. It's kind of out in the open right now. Any questions? Cool. So, what are some helpful sources if you want to look at things that's going on in the games industry? There's some outlets like gamesindustry.biz. That sounds pretty professional. Reddit, I think, has some subreddits around like game rumors and links and leaks. That's a pretty good one. LinkedIn, if you're connected to people in the games industry, and there's people who you can just follow, you don't need to be connected to, and you'll see basically who got laid off what week. X is cool. X, if you guys have been around, I mean, it's not cool, but it's like a cool place to learn things. Obviously there is like Blue Sky, but you're just gonna find indie games there. So X, you still have a lot of those people who are trying to make money in games industry and like see what's next. So it's still useful. And then Game Developer. Game Developer as a site is more like a blog for game developers. Even I've written for that website, so I wouldn't know if it's that credible. And then Yuzu for market research, which is where those graphs come from. So that's where you're going to pull stuff for your context slide when you're making a pitch to investors. Hopefully you never have to make a pitch for investors. You can just call mom and dad. So what is the answer to how to become a billionaire in the games industry? Any ideas?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
So the question was, how do you become a billionaire in the games industry? That was my question. Any answers, any ideas?
Connect to the right people.
Connect to the right people, that's actually a good point. Yeah, that's like a prerequisite. Okay, any ideas for what we could do to become a billionaire in the games industry? Professor?
I think you have to find out what's the trend, what do young people want, right? I think I was a bit shocked that you said like 3.5 billion people play, out of 8 billion, 3.5 billion play?
Out of 9 billion people, yeah, a
9
third.
billion, so
Yeah.
that means a third or something.
Yeah.
But I guess the heavy users are the younger ones. It's not my generation. It's not my mom
You'd be
who
surprised.
is on the computer. It might be.
Yeah.
You're right. But I think it's the younger generation, and I think what they like, and then probably see what are the trends there, and as you said, like. But I think it seems to be a super interesting creative industry, but also very competitive. And
Super competitive.
super smart guys. I think combining technology, with marketing, with finance and stuff and so on, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's some, which is the most famous company, EA or something? What is that?
EA is a pretty big third-party
Big-
publisher
big,
that
yeah,
just
yeah,
got bought by. It used to be public, and it got bought out by a fund of American, American, let's say, institutional investors, and then the Saudi Arabian
I believe
sovereign fund.
I believe the biggest MBO deal ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, buyout. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the biggest by
It was like
Biggest
what was it,
MBO deal ever.
was it 60 billion or something?
Yeah.
60
dollars.
billion. Dollars. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of money. Okay, but that's an interesting point. So I'll just to comment on that.
Yeah.
There's a pretty even distribution on game demographics in terms of age.
Really?
And there's even an idea that because of social media, actually the youngest generation, whatever is below Gen Z, you guys are Gen Z,
Yeah.
so the Gen Alpha or something underneath, is spending fewer hours on video games than Gen Z versus the millennials, definitely. Millennials are some of the biggest time spenders on games, even to this day, I think relative to its overall demographic size. The biggest spenders on gaming I think it's so the United States and China, but the biggest time spenders are actually middle-aged women in mobile gaming. Yeah. So if you do find a way to reach that audience, or displace them from some of their Candy Crush or whatever, if you look on the tube, it's mostly middle-aged women playing Candy Crush or like
And they're
match video games.
spending most? Is that the most lucrative segment of the market?
It's hard to say because Americans will spend the most on console, and that's like $70, $80 a pop. Yeah.
Sorry, do you remember who developed Heyday?
Yeah, that's Supercell.
Oh.
Yeah, also work with them. Is that what your mom plays?
Sorry?
Is that what your mom plays?
No, it's what my aunt plays, but
There you go.
she's like obsessed, and she puts so
Yeah.
much money into the game.
Yeah, exactly. So parents have more disposable income, and they'll get tricked into playing a video game saying they're not gamers, and then I'll ask them how many hours they have, and they've got like 10,000 hours on it, which is more video games than I've played all of my life. Yeah.
To be honest, Clash of Clans, Heyday,
Yeah.
it gets you addicted.
Yes.
I mean, the model
Exactly.
gets you addicted. You need to come back,
Yeah.
harvest, feed your animals.
So we don't like to use the word addiction in the games industry because we have an addiction problem, but we do apply the same psychology as addiction, like alcohol or gambling, especially in the mobile game space, and they call it retention, which is a nice fancy technical term for addiction, manufactured addiction. So one way to become a billionaire: find the latest trends for the biggest market. Make something super addictive or with high retention, if you want to sound professional. Any other ideas?
I think, well, okay, look, so I have cousins all over the world. Like, I have my cousin, she's from the south of France. I have others in Morocco, Japan, the States. And the one thing that they all have in common is they all play Roblox.
They all play
But the
Roblox.
thing is, I find Roblox to be such an underwhelming app. It's so sad and like it's so sad. It's such a sad app, and I think I don't know if somebody could compete against them, but I think that there's definitely the younger kids also want something like that. But I think they like the ability to have all of the games in one place.
Cool. So all of the games in one place is what we call a platform.
Yeah.
So yeah, platform, like I mentioned, that's a really good one.
So you want to be the platform.
So you want to be the platform. We have 3 out of the 6 answers already, guys. I also think that Donald Trump would have said your line very well. I think it's such a sad app. Such a sad app. So the answer: build a platform. Own the infrastructure others build on. You build your game on my platform, I take 30%. Or if you're Roblox, 70%. I don't know how they get away with it. That's worse than the government. Like 70%, you build the game yourself. Like, what am I getting out of it? But the idea is you get hundreds of millions of players. Steam, Unreal Engine, Roblox, that's how they scale. Unreal Engine or Unity are also a kind of platform. Even though they're an engine, you have to pay them to publish your game and make money off of it, yeah?
I think it was at GDC that Google announced a partnership, so they want to bring the PC games to Android. Is
Sure.
that kind of the idea to get the platform on a wider range of devices?
So PC games is in Steam going onto the Google platform.
On every Android device.
Yeah.
So they're synced and you can continuously play. Is that kind of building a platform?
Yeah, so this is a funny one because basically what that is called cross-play kind of thing. And that's, you would say that's like undermining platforms because now PlayStation and Xbox and whatever all offer the same content. Their argument will be that people who play PC games aren't playing games on mobile, so if we offer them the opportunity to play PC games on mobile, they're going to transfer over to mobile. And for what does the PC gamer or the PC platform get out of that? Well, maybe the mobile game people will play my PC game if it's on mobile. So there's the kind of exchange of benefit. It's possible because we have better internet, we're able to optimize better. Cloud gaming now is something that is not even exciting, it's just like a standard, like Xbox does that as a package. And that enables a lot more heavier content to exist on those kinds of devices. But just a point, that only works if you have a high-end device, and the majority of mobile gamers are not necessarily playing on the highest end devices. There's probably something like 500 million, players of mobile games just in India, but they're working on devices that are maybe like 3 generations behind, right? They're not playing on iPhones. In China, it's probably mostly caught up now. So they'll be playing PUBG or whatever's the latest Call of Duty on mobile, but there might not necessarily be playing, I don't know, Assassin's Creed Shadows that's just available on mobile. I don't know. So we'll find out. It's an interesting one. I don't know if that answers your question. But
How many platforms?
how many platforms?
Yeah.
More and more each day, but the big ones would be the ones.
Big ones. 3, 4, 5.
So Xbox, PlayStation, right?
Yeah.
Nintendo, that's the console. On PC, Steam is probably the biggest one. But then you'll have like Roblox, which is really or Fortnite, you could argue, is also a platform. And then you've got Google and Apple, off the top of my head, like that. You had a question?
Yeah, does it make a difference what the user plays the game on in terms of like getting money back?
Yes, absolutely. So that's what we'll cover here. So let's skip this one for now, but that one's sort of self-explanatory. You guys know what IP is, yeah? Intellectual property. So the guy who made Minecraft, which is basically just one guy, sold it to Microsoft for 2.5 billion, and because he was just one guy, he now has 2.5 billion. So make one really good game that everybody wants to play. Easy. Mobile free-to-play at scale. So free-to-play is what replaced the term freemium, I think, 10 years ago, which South Park made an episode on, but you guys would have been too young. Really funny episode though. The Canadians make a freemium game to get money out of Americans to fund Canadian development. Turns out it was all financed by the devil. But that's what Supercell does. So you make a really addictive game, and then you ask people once they're, and it's kind of fun, but if you want to have a lot of fun, you have to pay. You have to pay for more stuff, you have to pay to be better at it. So that's what they say when they mean tight retention loops means we're going to get you addicted. Massive user acquisition means we can pay to show ads to 100 million people. And live ops means new content every week. So that's great, but you need a lot of backing. Supercell, who are the most successful company at this, are now invested by Tencent, which is the biggest publisher in the world. I don't know, I want to say it's because they also get probably government backing. So I think they've bought out officially all of Supercell now, or maybe they're just like minority, but largest minority shareholder. Supercell will kill a game that doesn't make $1 billion. So they kill about, I don't know, like 10 to 50 games a year, depending on who you ask. They work in small startup-y nodes. They call them cells, actually. And unless a game in let's say soft launch is already generating 100 million, kill the game. Which is crazy because I've had friends who worked at a studio that got bought out by Supercell. That game is making $10 million a month. They were like, that's not good enough, we're gonna sell that game off.
And
But
they're selling it. They're not killing it. They're selling it to somebody else.
that one, yes, because
Well,
they
they're just
acquired
shutting it
that
down?
studio,
Yeah.
so it was already part of a portfolio. It looks bad to close a studio, so they just sort of like tried to find buyers for it, bought by another Chinese studio. For all we know, this might have been some kind of Chinese money like laundering scheme. Lot of money laundering. There's a platform that you guys probably have never heard of called Xsola. It's basically just Chinese money laundering. They're the cloud and infrastructure layer for a lot of mobile gaming, and they process a lot of payments. Once you process payments, you can basically do anything. Yeah, it's a lot of money laundering in games. It's a weird industry. Build and sell, yeah. I mean, that's basically the same as own your own IP. And try to ride a format shift early. It's the trend side of things. So for me, so the next trends, as they say, user-generated content platforms, that's what they're calling Roblox. AI native games, we'll find out exactly what that means, but essentially if there's a game where you can generate, that's backed by AI, you can generate new content all the time, therefore you can hook people easily. And then web-based casual, because it's getting a resurgence. I don't know, kids are playing on Chromebooks, basically, because schools are giving them Chromebooks for free. So if you don't want to be listening to me, you could be on your laptop and playing crazy games right now. I don't know what you're doing on a laptop, but you could literally be playing crazy games right now, which would be pretty meta of what we're doing. The last slide is thank you for listening. This is my name. You can find me on LinkedIn. This is my email if you have any questions. And if you scan this, I also host an event. We're part of the London Games Festival in April. It's called Play Praxis, where we have some open studio formatting, where you can talk to people who make games. We have some industry roundtables with people even wiser than me, if you can believe it. And it'll be a good time. Like maybe you can make it a little outing, convince your professor to go out. It's April 16th on a Thursday from 2 p.m. till 9 p.m. There will be coffee. There will be game jammy, so you can even like start and make your own game there. And there's lots of things actually happening in London in games industry. So if you have any questions, let me know. But I would not recommend it unless you can build everything yourself.
So we have 5 minutes left. Any further questions? So we have a few more. I think Raphael, and then Noah, and then Shireen, right? You also have a question now. These three? Good.
Maybe I'm
Okay.
a bit limited to PC, but what is the impact of a game release such as GTA 6, what had like a crazy budget, and like what is your impact on other industries, even if it's not directly on this platform?
So what's the impact of the release of GTA 6 on the games industry?
Yeah.
Well, first they have to release it, because I think they're going to keep pushing that back for a while. That's $1 billion games like right out of the gate, so it's a big bumper, and usually will probably dominate the sales cycle for like 6 months, basically. So anything that releases in that time is going to have some tough competition, but it's not worth, the way that it works is it's not worth trying to figure out when it's coming out and how you should position yourself, because you just will never know anyway, and also because if you're really competing against GTA 6, it means you're releasing another AAA game in that space, so like the next Assassin's Creed or whatever, and how do you say, those publishers, like movies, have a content pipeline that they need to fill. Every month they need to have a movie that comes out, for example. So to say, oh, we're gonna move something because GTA is coming out, is weird because they just know they need to put out content every quarter if they want to hit the volume of sales that they need to anyway. So it's a slightly, you don't really need to worry about it so much. If you're an indie game, you're not really competing on that scale, your prices are lower anyway. So for the consumer, it's not the same choice. And then for mobile, I don't think it'll have that much impact because there's not that much crossover around casual players versus hardcore players. And then the last fun impact is that when the last time GTA came out, crime actually went down in America. They did a study. So one potential impact is that crime goes down when GTA comes out. So maybe that's a good time to, I don't know, leave the door unlocked, go shopping in some fancy neighborhoods, whatever you want. Walk around with your phone.
Now, Noah? You had a question, right?
Yes, are you familiar with the Swedish Embracer group?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Good
Sharina,
question.
who else had a question? You had a
Yeah,
question?
I had a question when it came to selling, like, your idea, if you had an idea,
Yeah.
and then also the whole ads thing, and how do you know what to choose?
Okay, right, yes. So, and I think that falls into the monetization aspect of things as well, which I think you're at. So, you as a developer have an idea. You're gonna go to these conferences and you're gonna book meetings via the conference platform or associate conference platform, or you're just gonna try and meet people being like, do you know a publisher, do you know an investor? Because I need marketing, I need this. You're gonna have about 150 conversations and about 150 no's. That's gonna happen for a full year before anybody says, oh, okay, maybe. So you might go through literally hours and hours of rejection before anybody even wants to look at you. Each one of them is gonna have its own their own feedback. The reason why I started my company to make games on web is because I was seeing teams burn out from building, raising the money themselves, but then never having a publisher willing to take them to their audience. Today also, when they go for publishers, they're really asking for either money to complete your game. The expectation is the publisher will give you money if you're already looking like you're gonna make a successful game. They're not gonna give you money because they think you have a good idea unless you've already already worked on the most successful games in the world, which means you already have the money. So it's kind of a, catch-22. And then the other thing is to have marketing funding. So how can you reach your audience? Is it paying streamers to play your game? Is it putting ads on other people's games so they can play your games? How do people choose ads? So there's a couple of different platforms that, services that their job is just finding the right ads and finding which ads will pay the most money, being like, this is what we can offer, this is what you want to do. Who do you want to target? What are the higher quality ads? And then it depends on what level of spending you want to have on the content itself and which markets you want to reach. It's a whole industry. Huge amounts of monies are spent on that. But the ad buying is a small part. It's usually managed by user acquisition. And the last thing in terms of monetization, PC is usually one-off with DLCs. DLCs are as a way to make your game more relevant later. If you do live ops in console, it's a bit tougher. Xbox have trouble getting people to subscribe and stay subscribed because there's not that much live op content, and the way people consume games in a subscription model is a high churn rate, just like we do in Netflix. You watch something for 2 weeks and then you're done. Never watch it again until it comes out again. In mobile, it's about it's in-app purchases, and then there's also ads. So you get revenue for showing ads, and you hope that the ads you might be using as well to attract people to you. So that's different models of monetization.
Excellent, thank you so much. That was most amazing. I think it was probably one of the most informative guest speakers you've ever been. I have great guest speakers, but you're certainly in the crème de la crème. It was a tour d'horizon of the industry. I think it was really interesting. I hope you enjoyed it, and a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.